Hey everybody, Paul here. Welcome back to 613 Mopar. Finally, winter has let go of its stranglehold and the Hemi is outside in the driveway back home. Now, of course, we're going to do today, one of the first things you should probably do if you ever pull your car out of storage. It's also one of the easiest, if not probably one of the most important maintenance items you can do on the vehicle on your own, which is the oil change. Now, before we actually get to doing it, you need to make sure you have everything on hand in order to do it. First things first is your dinosaur juice. You're also going to need your replacement oil filter. Of course, you're going to need a funnel. In this case, I had to buy a 3-pack because for some reason I can't buy just one. This is going to help when you're putting the oil back in to make sure you don't spill anything in your driveway or have your environmentalist neighbors think that you're one of the most evil people in the whole world.
How dare you!
Now, also, what you're going to want to have, the appropriately sized socket in order to remove your oil drain plug. That varies by vehicle, so it's not like I can come out and say, oh, you need an 8mm socket. You're going to need to check that out on your own. As well as, you're going to need someplace for your old oil to go. So get yourself a drain pan. Now, let's be honest here. Most of the time, most people choose to do a lot of work on their vehicle at home in order to save them money. I'm going to put a disclaimer out here right now, and I'm going to say the odds are, if you're doing an oil change at home, you're not going to save a whole ton of money, if any. The reason why I choose to do my oil changes at home is, one, I get to use the products that I want to use, I choose to use. I am not bound by, whatever products might happen to be on the shelf at the oil changer that fits my vehicle, or at the garage, or whatever their suppliers might have on hand. Basically, you got a wide range of different oils and oil filters to use. And of course, with that range of cost also comes a range of quality. Now, when it comes to oil, your owner's manual is essentially going to tell you what kind of oil is going to work best with your engine. It's going to come with a viscosity level. It's going to say something like here, 5W20. It might say SAE 5W20. It might go to the extent of saying Dexos SAE 520. In our case, with the Hemi here, it actually comes out and it says, use Castrol fully synthetic Dexos SAE 5W20. Now, you're going to go to your oil parts, to your auto parts store. You're going to be met with a whole wall of oil. Different brands, different viscosity levels. The most important thing that you're going to want to make sure you match at least is the Dexos and the SAE 5W20 if it specifies. It's going to specify a viscosity level for sure. Now, like I said, in my case, it actually specifies brand on top of it, which is okay because when I was a young kid, I was a fan of NASCAR drag racing. Favorite drag racer was John Force, who drove a Castrol-sponsored funny car. So ever since then, I have been using Castrol. You see, companies, sponsorships work. So hey, if there's any companies out there that want to sponsor me, yeah, okay. Anyway, where you're going to get the widest range of cost and quality is going to be in your oil filter. This is where, if you're going to want a quality oil filter, you're going to pay for it. You can go to your auto parts store and you can just happen to go in there and you're going to see there's going to be specials on oils and all that kind of stuff. I tend to get my oil whenever it's on special. I'll buy 2 or 3 of these big jugs at a time Because, hey, if I'm going to save 20 bucks a jug, I'm going to make it worth my while and get a whole bunch of them. Now, these oil filters, they don't tend to go on sale. You can go to your local superstore and get an orange oil filter and pay somewhere between 5 and 10 bucks. Dirt cheap. It's dirt cheap for a reason. Now, all oil filters are more or less going to look the same. They're going to have this hard shell, and they're going to look like this. They're going to have the inlet holes. They're going to have the outlet holes. Going to have a nice rubber ring to make a seal. So when you're looking at oil filters, they're all going pretty much to look the same. The difference is what is inside. Now, I am not going to do one of those videos where, I buy a whole bunch of different brand of oil filters, cut them open, and show you what is inside. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on YouTube that already do that for you. By all means, go ahead, check them out. You'll see what I mean. Now, I'm going to suggest one for you, though. Okay? You see a lot of videos where they cut open the filter and they show you the media inside, the construction and everything. But there is one video out there. I'm not entirely sure it's on YouTube, but you should be able to Google it and find it. It is an episode of Engine Masters, which is on Motor Trend TV. It's possible it's on YouTube. If I do find it on YouTube, I will put a link down in the description for you to watch. If I find it on another video platform, I will put a description as to how to find it. I'm not entirely sure of if their YouTube has a policy where, linking directly to video sources outside of YouTube. I don't want to get my hand slapped and get a ding against the channel. But if I do find it, I will let you know. I will let you know where it is and how to find it. And the reason why I prefer this video over any other, not only are they comparing 8 different oil filters, they compare 2 Frams, an AC Delco, can't remember what brand it is, but there's an oil filter that is Ford specific that all the Ford guys rant and rave about. There's 2 K&N filters, a K&N regular and a K&N Performance Gold, as well as a Wix and a Wix Racing oil filter. Not only do they cut these things open and show you the construction and what's inside, Engine Masters is a TV show related to having an engine on a dyno, swapping parts, seeing what changes those parts make to horsepower and torque. Of course, oil filters are not going to make a change in horsepower and torque, but what they did is they set up a special oil rail where they could easily access these oil filters, swap them out, and on that rail they had a oil pressure monitor as well as a oil flow sensor. These are 2 most important metrics when it comes to rating an oil filter. How much oil is being processed through it and at what pressure. Now, Engine Masters is, of course, 2 people who I highly, highly respect in the automotive industry, Steve Dolchich and David Freiberger. And this is probably the most comprehensive oil filter test I have ever seen anywhere. Now, I'm not going to give away the whole episode, but any eagle-eyed viewers out there probably have already noticed that I am showing you a K&N Performance Gold oil filter. There's very good reason for that. Now, when I did mention the drain plug, getting the appropriate size socket to take off the drain plug. Yes, you know what? You can use just a regular old wrench or a regular adjustable wrench even, but I find that using a socket is most helpful in making sure that you don't round off the edges of the plug and make the job incredibly more difficult. So that being said, I think I've gone through pretty much everything you need in order to get the job done. So how about we get to it?
So here we are. I've let the engine run for a few minutes. Get everything all nice and up to temp. Here we have the socket on the drain plug, ready to go. The oil filter, let's see if I can get this. Oil filter is right up here. You can see it looks like I've had an oil leak. Maybe the last person who did the oil change didn't put it on tight enough. It's only supposed to be hand tight. So we'll keep an eye on things when we put the new one on, see what's happening. So yeah, let's get you situated and try and get you out of the way so we can get this going. Can you see? And we see drain plug. Yeah, we can see drain plug. So what happens is you need to orient your drain pan under here. You're going to need to guess a little bit on how far the oil is going to come shooting out of that hole once I remove the plug. For your most trajectory, probably hit it right about here. So as long as you get it in the yellow, should be good. And of course, as the process starts to end, you're gonna have to move the yellow part closer and closer until the point that it's directly underneath the plug, so it gets the final drops. And now let's go get the socket wrench. Okay, so we got the trusty socket wrench. Let's find a way to get my butt in here. Let's just pull this off. Socket on. Oh, you're gonna fight me every bit of the way, aren't you? Oh, of course you are. Why won't you go in? Let's get another socket wrench. There we go. See, I did not notice this socket wrench. There's a nice little button that retracts the little belt in here, so keep trying to force it on, it's not going to work, but press this little button, boom, there we go. And we got to make sure, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So, let's get this going. Oh! Son of a bitch. There we go. That took a little bit of work. I don't know what this orange stuff is here on here. They put some kind of stupid Loctite. Now remember, the engine's been warmed up, so this oil's going to be hot. Sorry if my head's getting in the way. Can I get in this way? Yeah. There we go. Got the oil plug. Put the wrench down. And we'll just keep an eye on this. Now, one thing you want to do after you've pulled the drain plug out is take a look at it. You see what a lot of people don't realize. This drain plug, it's magnetic. So if there are any magnetic particles, any metal in your oil, some damage happening in your engine, this is one of the places you're going to see it, is on the drain plug. And luckily, I don't see a thing. And this oil is already draining. So let's just let this finish the job, and then we'll take it back up once it's done. So here we are. a few minutes later, and you can, I don't know if you can see it or not on the camera, I can't see from here. There's still a small but steady stream of oil still coming out. This is not a job you want to rush. You want to take whatever time it takes to get all the old oil out of there before you go filling in with new. So looks like we still got a little bit of time, so we'll be back. So as we can see, the final drops are finally making their way out, and I want to show you freshly cleaned drain plug. See the seal or the gasket, whatever you want to call it, is perfect. So start getting ready. Oh, there's a little bit of dirt on here from the waiting for this oil to drain, so let's give it one last final cleaning. These final drops are not going to make a ton of difference. And, you know, realistically, we could probably sit here for another half an hour and it'll just keep dripping, drip, 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 drip. So, you know, let's get this drain plug back in. Of course, make sure you do not cross-tread. It's easy to figure out if you are cross-treading it, because by now it would be kind of hard to continue to put in just with your fingers. So let's get this in. Make sure we're doing the righty-tighty now. The socket. And that was my foot hitting the impact wrench because I took the tire off. And we are tight. So next, let's move on to the oil filter. Okay, now I hope I got you guys situated nicely so you can see. I've got the drain pan right under here. Now, this is the oil filter. Now, normally they're supposed to be on only hand tight, and you don't always need another tool in order to pull the oil filter off. Now, given the fact that there's obviously some kind of oil leak there, there's oil on the filter, there's no way my meat mitt is going to be able to get there and twist this. Well, let's give it a shot and I'll show you. Get a rag in my hand and we'll see here. Can I twist this off with my hand? No, not a chance. I can't even get a grip on this without slipping. So luckily, a like-minded individual puts the K&N oil filter on here, and not all oil filters have this nice handy little it looks like a nut or whatever on the end of it where you can slap a socket on it and use a tool to convince it to come off. So let's get on that. And we are back. Let's see if I can get this right here. So what I had to do, I had to go up the road to Princess Auto and buy a nice fancy little oil filter wrench. Now, of course, you see this little thing on the end here that looks like it's the end of a bolt or a nut or whatever. It's a great idea conceptually, but it's very, very poor execution. See, all the edges are tapered, which means that you get one size socket, it'll go halfway up. You go the next size up, it'll go all the way up, but it'll end up slipping when you try and turn it. So it's kind of a useless feature. But see, let's try with this oil filter wrench here. And of course, the oil from the leak onto the oil filter is not going to do us any favors. Oh, this little tube here in the way. Let's see if I can get around it so I'm not impacting that in any way. So let's see what we can do here. Oh, I'm moving you. I'm sorry. I think you're still in view. There we go. And I just lost the size. Great. Let's pull this back off and let's resize this again. Give me that back. What are you doing? Okay. Let's go back to the drawing board here. Third time's a charm, right? The reason why I bought this friggin' chain one is because with the oil leak around the oil filter, I wasn't sure if the one with the rubber band would grip it well enough, or if the one with the steel band would be sufficient. I gotta flip this around so I can turn this counterclockwise. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. And I know I'm moving you guys again, I'm sorry. Let's see if we can get this done now. We're on. Do we have room? Is this tight enough? Look at that. It's actually turning. Awesome. There we go. All that just for that. Now, of course, it comes off by hand rather easily. Let's pull this off, get it out of the way. Yeah. Of course, oil's going to come out. Still nice and warm. Oh, I should have taken off my watch. There we go. And dump that into the drain. Where's my rag? Well, that's taken off the oil filter. Now, when you have the old oil filter off, you need to make sure that this rubber ring here, the seal ring, comes off with it. Has happened before where this rubber ring does not come off the engine block. If you go and put the new filter on without taking that ring off, it's not going to perform a good seal. There's going to be a gap here, and you're going to spit out all your oil within a matter of a couple of minutes when you start it up and you check for leaks. So yeah, just make sure this ring comes off when you take off your oil filter. Otherwise, you're going to need to get in there with maybe a set of needle nose pliers or flathead screwdriver or whatever. It shouldn't take much to just, you know, pop that ring off the engine block and get ready to put your new one on. Back again. Now we're ready to put the new oil filter on. What you're going to want to do is dip your finger into the old oil. You want to run your finger a couple of times around this rubber ring, lube it up, so that way it's going to perform a good seal. And now we just got to get it back in here. Again, you want to make sure you're not cross-threading it. Let's make sure we find the spot. In the right direction, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Am I in the right spot? I might have to bump you guys out of the way. Let's see if I can do this without moving you guys. There's a big hole. There's a... Oh, see, that wasn't... Oh, here's the hole. Get my fingers out of the way. Oh, right there. right there. See if I can get my head at a better angle here without interfering with you guys. Let's just move you guys. Hoping you guys can see better. Okay, so I figured out what the issue is trying to get this oil filter on. Now you remember when I said that, you know, changing the oil on your own is not necessarily going to save you money, but you know you're going to get quality products you're going to pay for. Yeah, well, let me show you what I did wrong, because you know it's compounded when you go to your auto parts store and you don't buy the correct part to begin with. So let me show you here. Now here on the left, this is the oil filter that I took out of the Hemi, and this is the brand new oil filter that I was going to put in. Now on the outside, as far as circumference or radius, whatever this is, diameter and height, they are identical. But you can see, based on the holes over here, they are not the same. Now it might not be terribly obvious here, but you can see this old filter. This is the way where the screw-on part goes. The hole is obviously a little bit bigger. So here, part number, where's the part number? It's upside down. Maybe you can see it. It's HP 2010. And what I picked up after looking at the auto parts store, little handy dandy machine, was HP 2004. So, you know, I went back to my auto parts store and looked up on their handy dandy machine again, and sure enough, I picked the wrong part off the shelf, because it tells me to pick up a brand new HP, I can't tell, HP 2010 filter, which now, let's take a peek here. Yeah, it looks right. So, let's try and do this again and get this damn job done.
Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. I did not record the rest of the oil change. You know, going into the episode, I figured 10-minute oil change, really. Setting up cameras, doing some explanations, probably take about a half an hour. Yeah, it didn't really turn out like that. Between struggling to try and get the oil-covered oil filter off, needing to go to Princess Auto to get an oil filter wrench to just really take off an oil filter that I should have been able to just fingertip it if it wasn't coated with oil. Running into the wrong replacement oil filter, having to run to the parts store to get the new one. It turned into like a 2-hour ordeal. Yeah, and of course, when I started, I had a really nice patch of shade in the driveway, and by the time I got back home with the right part, the sun was just beating down into the driveway. Mrs. Mopar, who was patiently waiting for the job to be done so we can go run some errands, was no longer patiently waiting. So, yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot left to it anyway. You saw me as I was trying to put the bad oil filter on. You have the right size oil filter, it just goes on nice and easily. Put it up there or sideways, wherever it's, or however it's oriented on your engine. Turn it up, you put it on hand tight. As tight as you can with your hand. If you're somebody who's not sure whether you're strong enough in the hand, you can use an oil filter wrench just to give it a little bit of a snug. You're not trying to torque a lug nut, just make it a little bit snug. After you've done that, it's just go on top of the engine and put your oil in. Your owner's manual will tell you
how much oil you need to add, including what's going to be end up in the oil filter. So you just make sure you add that much oil, and you check it with your dipstick to make sure everything looks good. Once that is done, you put the cap back on, you start your engine, and you have a look underneath to make sure that everything is snug and there's no oil leaking. If something is not snug, whether it's your oil filter or your drain pan plug, you will know within a matter of just a couple of seconds when oil starts coming out. You get it back there, you turn your engine off, snug, make sure everything is snugged down, and give it a shot again until it doesn't leak. So that's about it for the oil change. One thing I did not mention when I was draining the oil, you saw I took the drain plug off. Oil was coming out, pretty black. That's what old oil looks like. It's going to be a really dark color, black. If your oil kind of looks like a chocolate milkshake, a lighter brown kind of color, that is indicative of what could be a pretty serious problem in your engine, and you need to get that checked immediately. In your engine, there are two types of liquid flowing through. You got your oil that is lubricating all the moving parts in the engine. You have engine coolant, which is also circulating in different areas of the engine just to keep the engine from overheating. If you're getting a milkshake coming out of your oil pan, that means these two fluids are mixing together and ending up in the oil pan. And that can be anything from, bad head gasket, cracked heads, cracked engine block, all of those pretty serious problems. You need to get that looked at right away. So I think that concludes the oil change, and I want to thank everybody for watching. I apologize for not filming the end, and if you like, comment, subscribe. It'll help me out, help the channel out, and we'll see you next time on 613 Mopar. See you.